Welcome to J Weekly Canada. My name is Susan Minuk. So, back in September, the Toronto International Film Festival screened Irena's Vow, starring actors Sophie Nélisse and Dougray Scott. Just ahead of the world premiere, I had an exclusive and profound interview with Irena's daughter, Jeannie Smith, and Mr. Roman Haller, the baby who was born in captivity. Amidst the alarming rise of anti-Semitism and hatred, it's imperative now, more than ever, to amplify narratives of overcoming adversity and triumphing over evil. In this true story of heroism, Irena Gut Opdyke, a Polish Catholic nurse, was honored after the war as righteous among the nations by Israel's Yad Vashem Holocaust Memorial Center. The film depicts Irena hiding 12 Jewish refugees for 2 years, quite literally under the nose of her employer in the home of a high-ranking German officer. This story is riveting with a remarkable twist. Irena's Vow will be in theaters April 19th. So, Jeannie, for decades, your mother was very quiet. She didn't say anything about this period in her life. And at I think from what I understand, she came across a Holocaust denier, and that was kind of opened the floodgates for her. And you were 14 years old.
Correct. It was a phone call, actually, from a college student who was doing a survey for a report in school, and his topic was the Holocaust never happened. It was just propaganda drummed up by the Jews so that they would create sympathy for themselves. And he was just calling random people to find out what they thought. At 14, kids don't listen to their parents on the phone, but after a little bit, I realized my mom was saying some pretty incredible things. And I remember looking at my dad, who was the only person in the United States that I knew that knew her story, and he said, she's telling her story. What I remember most of that was after she hung up the phone. The young man hung up at some point. He didn't want to hear everything she had to say, but she stood there crying. And she said, all these years that I've kept silent, I've allowed evil, and I've allowed the enemy to win. And she said, from now on, no matter what, I will talk and tell anybody the truth so that history never repeats itself.
So what was your reaction, though, at that time? I mean, you never knew anything.
I didn't, and I grew up in Southern California in Orange County. I'd never even heard the word Holocaust. I had no idea what she was talking about, and truthfully, it just made me feel uncomfortable, and it took me a long time before I could listen to what she had to say or ask questions. I guess I just didn't want to know.
So your mother made a vow, Irena's vow, to help and save these Jewish people. After witnessing the unbelievable horrors with her own eyes, a lot of people would have, as I was telling you before, a lot of people would have, maybe had a fleeting thought of that, but she actually risked her life over and over again. Can you tell us maybe a surprising fact about your mother that we might not know about?
Oh my goodness, there's so many surprising facts about her. My mom was tiny, 5'3", but courageous, and she just never met a problem that she couldn't figure a way out. And she did it with charm, but she never gave up on anything. And that pretty much sums her up. She financially took care of our family very well. She became one of Southern California's top interior designers, and she was always beautiful and talented and elegant. So she was a pretty incredible mom.
Okay, so Roman, hello Roman. You grew up completely unaware of your parents, Ida and Lazar's Holocaust experience during the Holocaust. When did you learn about their story and how you came into the world?
Yeah, I learned from my parents what happened. I was about 6 or 7 years old. My parents and we lived in Munich. We came to Munich. We lived in a so-called TIFF camp for displaced persons, with the intention to go to the United States. After the war, Germany was divided in 4 parts, and if you wanted to go to America, you had to go to the American part of Germany, and this was Bavaria. So my parents decided to go to America, so had to go to Munich, what is in the middle of Bavaria. And so they came in this DP camp, and they had to wait for a long time for a visa. It was not so easy, and it took 3 years. And in the meantime, my father didn't want to wait such a long time, and he looked for a work, and he found something, and he also rented a little flat. And yes, and after 3 years, when the visa came and the permission, it was for Cincinnati. You couldn't go where you want to, but you had to go to this place you were allowed to go, and this was Cincinnati. And at that time, my mother was sick. She had problems with the heart, and they didn't speak English. They spoke Yiddish, and with Yiddish it's similar to German, and so they could speak with people, yes, more or less German. And they were a little bit afraid to go to the States. They didn't understand English and so on. And they always wanted to go to the States, but not yet, not now.
But when did they actually tell you, though?
I was around about 6, 7 years old, right. And they told me, but, my mother never spoke about. She had night dreams, and I heard Gestapo, SS, police, and so on. And my father, he spoke a lot about the time of war. But as a child, I couldn't hear it. I couldn't hear what people did to my parents, because the time in the ghetto of Tarnopol was really terrible. So I heard the first time a little bit about, I was 6 or 7 years old, but I didn't want really to hear it. It was difficult for me as a child. And later on, slowly, they told me more about, but always my father, never my mother. My mother couldn't speak about. And slowly I learned about what happened.
So for someone like me who's watched the film, it's very hard to reconcile that you grew up with this wonderful, with this warm man who you love and loved you, and yet we see another side, right? So that's the irony here, right?
Yes, for me, he was my grandfather. I never knew my grandparents, and he came in our house, and he lived also in Munich sometimes together with us. He went back, and for me it was a tragedy when he went back to Nuremberg, and I was very happy. I played with him, and he was my Seide. He was my grandfather. And so I was very, very sad when he passed away. I think it was 1955.
So Jeannie, in 1982, your mother was awarded or recognized by Yad Vashem, the Holocaust Memorial in Israel, as Righteous Among the Nations, the designation for Gentiles who aided Jews during the war. Tell us about that time when she received this recognition.
Well, she of course, was very much moved by that, and I got to go to Israel with Roman and this rabbi and Asa that put them together, and a personal family friend. So, it just meant a lot to her to be able to do that. So, yeah, it was a special time and a great honor. I didn't know at the time how great of an honor. Because unfortunately, there were very few, and there should have been so many more. And I now appreciate it even more as an adult, the sacrifice that she made, and the fact that that was honored. So, yeah.
So, how has your family passed down the memory of your mother's heroic actions?
Well, I have. When my mom passed away at 85, she had 11 speaking engagements lined up in the near future. Oh, wow. And one was just 11 days away in Los Angeles. And so I called. My job was to call everybody. And this one place in Los Angeles, a Holocaust Museum, said, "We can't cancel, you have to come." And so that was my start of sharing her story, and I've done that ever since, hundreds of times a year actually. But I have two granddaughters, one that's almost 26, one that's 25, and each of them have had opportunity to share her story too, and it's so nice to know that I have a baton that I can pass to my granddaughters to continue telling the story.
In what ways do you think your mother's legacy can continue to inspire people to take action against injustice and discrimination in the world today?
Well, I don't think there's ever been a time in the world where that message could be shared and learned from more. It's just so necessary. We, in our busy lives and all the electronics and the computers and everything, we can be so self-focused and only see us, and we take sides, and there's division everywhere. And, it's a call to remember that we're human beings first, and that, we have to see people. We have to care. If we lose our humanity, it doesn't matter what we've achieved in technology or anything else. So it's a necessary thing for our survival, I believe, to be human. Otherwise, we could just all be machines. So, yeah. My mom used to say, people would ask about courage and say she has such courage. She was just an average woman, truthfully. She was human. She had flesh and blood. But she said, courage is a whisper from above. And I have to say it with her accent. Courage is a whisper from above. If you think only with your head will tell you, don't do this. It is dangerous. So you have to involve your heart. And that's what it is. It's our heart. It's our soul. It's being connected to flesh and blood people and seeing their value and worth and taking them as they are.
It's funny that you say that, because I wrote in my notes here from her book, I took a quote here. It says, "When you listen with your heart, you will know what to do and when."